You're at the Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub, where we enjoy conversations with people who are engaged in the world of coaching.
Hello, I'm Claire Pedrick. Welcome to today's episode of the Coaching Inn. And I'm in conversation with Sarah Short from the Coaching Revolution. Now, we've heard about Sarah on a number of podcasts before, so it's absolutely delightful to welcome you yourself in the flesh, Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Sarah. I am, if I stand on tiptoes, I can see 60. Let's put it like that. I have two daughters. One of them is 25 and studying to be a teacher, drama teacher, and the other one is just finishing up a musical theatre degree. Wow. I also have a small brown dog who is my son. I have two daughters and a son, and I live in northern Italy, up a hill just outside of Turin. Wow. And I run the Coaching Revolution. I founded and run the Coaching Revolution, which I have done for nearly 5 years now.
Brilliant, brilliant. So everyone's talking about you, Sarah.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
So tell us a bit about your coaching journey, and then tell us about the Coaching Revolution that really is making a difference for people.
Well, my coaching journey started in the beginning of 2009. At the end of 2008, my marriage fell to bits, and I was living in Botswana with my British husband, and I had no alternative really than to get on a plane with the kids and come back to the UK. Now, I didn't want to come back to the UK. I was loving living in Botswana, and December in Botswana is the summer. Yes. So it was like, 36 degrees and glorious. And I got off the plane in Heathrow on the 3rd of December and it was -6 and dark. And I was really sad. And about February of 2009, my best friend said to me, and she actually used these words. She said, "Sarah, you are normally nauseatingly optimistic. And at the moment, you are really miserable, and I have never seen you this miserable, and I feel really worried about you. And I wondered if maybe you should chat to a life coach." And I said, "What's a life coach?" So 3 sessions in, which she paid for me. Oh, wow. 3 sessions in, it was all of it, the whole light bulbs, choir of angels, the whole, I just was like, this is amazing. I want to be sitting where you're sitting, lady, not here. And in 3 sessions, I'd kind of gone from being poor me, life's rubbish, I'm done. What was I then? 42 or 3, my life's over. And now I'm just a single mum bringing up these children on my own in a cold, dark country, which is where I'd been. I was like, right, let's crack on with life. It was a change, not the end. And so I trained to be a life coach. And my background prior to that is I have only ever worked for somebody else for about 5 years, predominantly because I am a lousy employee. I'm just rubbish at taking orders, basically. And so my whole working life, I've pretty much worked for myself. And I've always worked either as a teacher or a trainer. And because I was working for myself, I was going to say or, but it's not or, it's and. Because I was working for myself, my job when I was running my drama school was to get students into the drama school. My job when I was running an English language school was to get students into the English language school. My job when I was running a consulting business was to find clients. So it's always been a combination of education and sales. And so when I started coaching, there were a couple of years, it wasn't until 2013 really that I kind of went, actually, I could do this for a living. I started working with women with small businesses who were really reluctant to sell, which is all of them, pretty much. Anyway, in 2017, 2 colleagues and I, so 2 other coaches and I, two chaps called Paul, we were sitting in my kitchen in Cumbria, and I was ranting They were not ranters, and I am a ranter. And I was ranting about the ICF statistic that was around at the time, global statistic, that says that 82% of coaching businesses will fail in the first 2 years. And the three of us were all coaching for a living. We were, as a single mum, every bean that came into my house, I brought in, mum of 2 kids, a zoo at the time, had a number of animals. And we couldn't really understand why were all these businesses failing. And there are a couple of things about this. The 2 years part, what I thought that meant was that coaches started their business, they set it all up, they got it all going, they got lots of clients, and then around the 23 months mark, something went belly up and it all collapsed. And in actual fact, that's not true at all. Yeah. The 2 years bit is a red herring, because what the 2 years bit signifies is that's as long as a coach can sustain the energy, the time, the motivation, and the money to keep trying to create a coaching business and failing.
Yeah.
And in that 2 years, I now know, because I speak to a lot of coaches, but I now know they have tried everything that they can think of to build this coaching business. So back to my kitchen where I was ranting in 2017. So when I finished ranting, Hank, one of the Pauls, said, "So what are we going to do?" And that was how the coaching revolution was born. Now, since then, very sadly, Hank passed away in 2019. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor very shortly after we started the coaching revolution. And the other Paul's gone off to do something different. And so for the last nearly 2 years now, the coaching revolution is mine, just me, which has actually been really exciting, because the thing about having business partners is that you decide things in threes. And what that meant usually is I went, "What about this?" And they said no. And so now I don't have a handbrake on anymore. And the growth in the coaching revolution has been explosive since It was just me, because all the things I wanted to try that they didn't think was a good idea, I've tried and they've succeeded. So that was quite exciting. And so to go back to why were we successful and why are other coaches not, I'm aware that I'm doing a lot of talking here, Claire. Are you happy for me to just carry on?
Very happy. Keep talking, because I know that our listeners are going to be really interested in your
story. Okay. So back to this, why coaches work for 2 years and what's going on when they do that. We only work with qualified coaches. That there are so many people out there who go, "You want to be a coach? You can be a coach. Go and take a $7 course or a weekend." And we work with professionally qualified coaches. So I don't distinguish between different flavors of coaching, providing you have an accredited, might be university, ICF, EMCC, AC. I don't care. I don't go with the theory that one particular qualification is better than another. It's fine by me, as long as it's a proper coaching qualification.
Can I just stop you for a second? Because I think what's really interesting there is that you're saying there's part of the journey, there's quite a part of the journey that you need to have done before you burn your bridges. Yes.
You have to be qualified. We work, so that I actually work in 2 of these industries, and most coaches work in 1, which is, it's quite murky. There's a lot of nonsense out there about you can take this $7 course and you're going to be a brilliant coach, or you can do that, you can do the other. A coaching qualification is going to cost you thousands of pounds. There are going to be at least 50, 60 classroom hours, plus around 100 hours of actual coaching that you need to undertake, and there may well be an exam, and there's lots of learning to be done, and anything that you find that you can do in less than that isn't real. It's expensive to get qualified as a coach. Now, sadly, there's been a change in what coach training schools teach over the last sort of 5 or 10 years. Once upon a time, they taught you simply how to be a fabulous coach. And that's really important. There's lots of skills we need to learn to become coaches, but training schools used to teach that. And then they became aware that some of each cohort might want to create a coaching business.
Yeah.
And so they started to do what I refer to as a nod at business development. And I wish they wouldn't. God,
Okay.
I wish they wouldn't. Because what they teach usually is deliver fantastic strategy sessions, chemistry sessions, discovery sessions, give some free coaching, give an hour's free coaching, make it life shattering for the person on the receiving end.
And then they won't come back.
And then they'll want to pay you a professional rate to achieve the goals that you've just described. That's strategy number one from coach training schools. Strategy number two is go and network. Right, now the problem with that is go and network where, with whom, what do I say when I'm there, etc. And in one case, somebody shared a video with me from a very well-known coach training establishment in which there was a business development session. And in it, they talked about, what now that you're graduating from us and you're going to go off and develop your coaching business, what you'll find is that in one moment you might be using pure coaching, in the next moment you might be using transactional analysis, in the next moment it might be Gestalt theory, and all of that is fine. You don't have to be a purist. They are effectively lenses through which you and I'm sitting there thinking, this is the practice of coaching, not developing a coaching practice.
Yes.
And those are two different things. But the person who'd sat through this session said to me, I don't understand what I'm supposed to take from this to go and help me find clients. And I watched the session and said, nothing. And the reason that coach training schools do this, and I know that some will say, oh, you need an ideal client and a niche, but these are big things. These are not casual throwaway sentences. Understanding what a niche is massive. I recently ran my first ever 4-day challenge called Nail Your Niche that was for coaches. And we had 150 coaches, all professionally qualified coaches on this challenge. And I learned more than they did because they thought, and I'm a transformational coach. That's my niche. It's like, no, that's not your niche. That's your qualification. Yeah. I'm a mindset coach. So we had change coach, mindset coach, transformational coach. It's like, isn't all coaching that?
Yeah.
Why are you so stuck on calling yourself a mindset coach? What does that mean to anybody other than you? Anyway, I digress. Back to this what coach training schools teach. They are not unkind. They are not teaching you this because they want to fog your brain. However, what they're teaching is simply wrong. It's simply wrong. Now, I think that the reason that they're teaching it is because the people who are teaching it are trainers. They're not entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Their job, they are paid associates to deliver training, not people who've been out there and delivered it. And the other thing is,
and that's interesting, isn't it, Sarah? Because that's a legitimate business model, is to be a paid associate. But if that's your legitimate business model, then you're not experienced
at developing a business model where you're going out finding your own private clients. And I would argue that what you want is a portfolio business. You want some associate work. You want some private clients. You might even be doing something else that sets your soul on fire from your previous life. We have somebody who does a bit of PR. We have somebody who does some data analysis because that's what they love doing. And what they've created is this beautiful portfolio business, which feeds their soul rather than sucks it dry, which is what these 2 years are about. So let me tell you, I realize I'm kind of jumping around all over the place here, but let me tell you about those 2 years. Okay, so coaches finish their coach training school with this idea that they have to deliver strategy sessions and network. They go to networking meetings, and if you've ever been to one, you will know there are 3, 4, 5 coaches at each one, and they will all say, I can help you reach goals, overcome your limiting beliefs and mental barriers, and nobody wants to talk to them.
Of course they don't, because they're starving, hungry.
But the thing about a limiting belief is that until the moment you realize it's a limiting belief, it's your reality.
Yeah.
So you've got a coach saying you've got limiting beliefs, and you've got somebody talking to the coach going, no, I don't. And the coach insisting that they do. And it's actually patronizing.
Yeah.
It's really patronizing. And so, you end up with all these coaches at all these networking meetings. They have no strategy. They talk about the coaching process. It's a catastrophe. Now, I'd just like to say networking can be a very important part of your marketing strategy, but it has to have a strategic element to it. There has to be a plan. You only need to network where the kind of people that match your ideal client profile are. You don't have to go to every single one, and you should never try and describe the coaching process to somebody in the hopes that that will infuse them as much as it infuses us. Now, this is where it starts to get murky. Nobody buys processes. Doesn't matter what you're buying, we don't buy processes. We buy outcomes. So we don't buy insurance, we buy the peace of mind it gives us for knowing that if it all goes horribly wrong, we're okay. We don't buy the process of a car being assembled. We buy the nice shiny, how we feel when we drive the nice shiny object. I could go on. Everything we buy to either fulfill a need or solve a problem. We do not buy processes, we buy the result. Now, this absolutely blows coaches' minds, because if I ask them what's the outcome of somebody working with you, the answer is it depends. It depends. It depends on the individual. It depends on the situation. And that's absolutely true. Please remind me to come back to that, because I am of an age where I will forget as I go back to what I was saying before.
I will.
When I was talking about the murky bit, there is one group of people who absolutely will buy the coaching process, and that's coaches. We can be sold a coaching process. We can get excited about somebody's 12-step plan. We will get very excited. And what that means is that by the time we get to the why isn't this working point, and we see somebody saying, I can coach you to success, we think, of course, because we think coaching is the solution to everything. But you cannot coach across a knowledge gap. You cannot coach a good marketing strategy, an effective marketing strategy out of a head that doesn't have one. And what you can coach out of a head that doesn't have one is, I'm going to produce flyers and I'm going to leave them in every doctor's surgery. I'm going to just things that are never going to work.
And
you
Sarah,
can coach those.
30 years I've been in this business, and I can't tell you, if I had a cup of coffee for everyone who said they'd print out flyers and put them in the gym.
I know. You'd be awash.
I would. What saddens me is that the same loops.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's back to this. There's no such thing as a new idea, is it? But then, so here we have all these coaches who, having failed to sell their coaching to actual clients, would start selling it to coaches, because coaches will buy the coaching process. I actually had somebody come to the Coaching Revolution, because we offer a coaching diploma as well as our marketing diploma, both ICF accredited. That's important. And she said to me, before I commit to this, can I just check, is coaching a pyramid scheme? Because I see coaches coaching coaches all over the place. I was like, no, it's not. It's not. And out of the 100, nearly 200 coaches that we've worked with, one of them has coaches as her ideal client. And she is very senior in the ICF leadership structure. And having kind of looked around at what she does best, actually, coaches were her client, but not to help them be better coaches, but there's a very specific problem that she'd identified that her coach clients struggle with. And it's true, they do. So what did I ask you to get me to come back to?
It depends. You said?
Yes. Okay.
Can I just say?
Yes.
I apologise to all our listeners on a dog walk that you're going to have to go home and start listening to this again with a pencil. But maybe we don't apologize for that. So Sarah, let's go
talk
back
to you about it depends.
It depends.
Okay. Coaches get really bent out of shape when I say they have to talk about outcomes. Now, there is a huge light bulb moment which has to happen. And I can talk to a coach and I can talk to them and talk to them. And I know when that light bulb moment happens, because all of a sudden, everything that they're doing changes. So this is the thinking behind the light bulb moment. When you finish your coach training and you have your new shiny certificate, what you have then is 50% of the skills that you need to create a financially viable coaching business. So let's imagine old-fashioned weighing scales. And for those of you who are watching this in black and white, I'm holding my hands up like old-fashioned weighing scales here. On one half of these scales sit your coaching qualifications. Now, this is really important. It doesn't matter what kind of qualification or how many of them you have, or even how much money you've spent on them, they all go on this one side. So for every coach that's thought, I know I'm going to get an additional qualification and then I'll have even more value to offer to the clients that I don't have, all of that goes on one side. You can spend £1 million on taking additional qualifications that you use in the delivery side of your business. And what I mean by that is when you have the client sitting in front of you and you're taught, that's the delivery skills. And all of that sits on this one side of your coaching business. And if I say to you, what's the outcome you can reasonably expect from your client when we are looking at delivery? Well, the answer is it depends. Absolutely, it depends. However, there is this other side, which is a full 50% of the skills that you need. And this side holds the skills that you need to create the opportunities to do that delivery. And these are sales and marketing skills. Now, just saying that out loud, I can feel everybody on a dog walk going, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. Let me explain why you don't like it and why you should. Marketing is not a dirty word. And sadly, our profession seems to think, in fact, they actively say, coach training schools still actively say that if your coaching is good enough, your clients will find you.
But they won't.
Well, how can they possibly find you if they don't know you're there?
Yeah.
How can they possibly find you? They can't possibly find you. But so many coaching careers have basically founded on the rock of that comment. Of course, it's nothing to do with your delivery skills. Not being able to find clients doesn't mean you're a lousy coach. Not being able to find clients means you're a lousy marketer.
Yeah.
They are two utterly different skill sets, but they are 50% of your financially viable coaching business. So if we think about these two halves of a coaching business, do you remember Wurzel Gummidge, Claire?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember he had all these different heads and he could take one off and put a different one on? Okay. So let's take our coach head off, which is the head we have on in our delivery sessions. And let's put our business development head on, which is the head that we should be having on when we're in the finding clients who can and will pay a professional rate for our business.
You've made so much sense of how I've structured my business for the last 30 years, Sarah. It's really interesting because I've always spent 2 days a week doing business development and 3 days a week doing delivery.
There you go.
And you're saying, Claire, that's 60-40.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about
absolutely
50-50?
Yeah.
I can hear it. Yeah.
So here we are with our marketing head on, looking at our how to find clients who can and will pay a professional fee for our coaching. There's a big difference between can and will.
Yes.
Can means they have the disposable income, and that's where coaches stop. I'm going to coach C-suite because they can afford me. I'm going to coach lawyers because they can afford me. Just because you can coach them doesn't mean they will want you to. In order to move them from can to will, you need to give them a compelling reason why they should why they should let you coach them. So here we are on this. I'm very aware I'm talking a lot. Are we running
Please
out of time?
keep talking.
Okay,
Our dog
okay.
walkers are super happy, I'm sure. Plus
Okay.
our car drivers and all other listeners. Keep going.
So here we are on the marketing side with our marketing head on. Business development, marketing. I tend to call it business development because coaches feel ill when they hear the words marketing. So let's just dispel a few myths. Marketing doesn't mean being pushy. Marketing should cross no core values, none. If you are asked to do something which makes you feel uncomfortable, and when I say uncomfortable, I mean more uncomfortable than just learning a new skill, because it is a new skill and there is a level of kind of outside your comfort zone that goes with learning any new skill.
Yeah.
You know, if you are asked to hop into people's inboxes on LinkedIn and send DMs in the hope that for every 50 you send, you might pick up 5 clients, that's dreadful. You shouldn't be doing that. That feels horrible. That's call center. There's a reason why call centers have such a high turnover of staff, because it's a dreadfully demoralizing way of marketing to just cold DM.
I get so many of those, and it says, hello, are you a life coach? No, but
yeah.
You haven't read my bio. Would you like to increase your turnover by whatever? And
10x.
I go, no. And then I just reply, have you read my profile?
I get those too. I get those too. People say to me, do you want to learn how to find clients? I'm like, you really didn't read my profile, did you? You haven't even looked at it.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to this marketing side. When we're on the delivery side, the answer to what are the outcomes has to be it depends.
Yes.
When we look at the marketing side, what you need to do, and I can feel the resistance in every single listener as I say this, but I promise you, it's A, your lack of understanding is why you're resisting, and B, it's nowhere near as uncomfortable as you fear it to be. So if you imagine an old-fashioned kitchen funnel.
Yeah.
At the top of that kitchen funnel is the population of the entire world. And the first thing that you need to do is to choose a target audience or a niche. Now, a niche is a group of people. A niche is not the kind of coach that you are. A niche has nothing to do with your delivery side. It has everything to do with your marketing side. So a niche is a marketing tool. It's not a coaching philosophy. I'm kind of hammering that home because that was my big learning in that challenge that I did, was that coaches had no idea what a niche was. So here we are at the top of the funnel, the entire population of the world. Now that's like 8 billion people. You can't coach 8 billion people, and you certainly can't market to 8 billion people. So let's come down the funnel and say, right, okay, I want to coach women. I have, when I've asked coaches what their niche is, I have had people say, oh, women, right? That's not a niche, that's half a population. So let's come further down that funnel and say, okay, so if I can't coach all women, I'm going to coach women in business. Brilliant, that's my niche, women in business. No. That's still far, far too wide. Because within women in business, you might have women with a professional qualification who work in a commercial environment as an employee. And at the other end of that, you could have a woman who has her own business, service-based business, let's say, that she runs from home. Now, both of those women can benefit from coaching, but they would need to hear very different things in order to understand why they might want coaching. Remember, we're at the 2 business women, because I just want to make an aside here. As a professional coach who is marketing their coaching business, it's really important that we realize that we are at a significant disadvantage compared to any other profession. And the reason for that is that nobody knows what a coach is.
Yes.
Or what coaching is, or even worse, they think they do and they're wrong. Oh, you're a coach, are you, Sarah? What, netball?
Yes.
So if you look at therapists, doctors, architects, lawyers, accountants, at least people have a good understanding of what they do, even if they don't know the specifics. So if you're an architect, you can say, somebody says, oh, I need an architect. They might say, oh, well, sorry, I only work with commercial, but at least you know where you need to go. With coaching, nobody knows what coaching is. They don't understand it. And so therefore, there is no point trying to persuade them that if they'll just sit down and let you ask them questions. So what we have to do is we have to forget about talking about coaching.
Yes.
And we have to talk about the problem that the individual has and the effect it has on their lives and what their life might look like without it. So back to these two women, here they are needing an utterly different marketing message. Now, I think the whole world deserves to be coached. So I'm not saying that I don't think people should be coached or that one person is more valid than another in terms of anything other than marketing here. Those two women, let's drop that one. Sorry, you can't see me, can you? I'm waving my arms around here. So we've got our employed woman in a commercial environment and we've got our woman with her own business. Let's say we'll lose the employed woman and we're going to move further down the funnel and we're going to say women with their own business. That's my niche, women with their own business. No, it's not. Because within that niche, that group of people, women with their own business, at one end of the spectrum, you have a woman who owns an internationally recognized brand with manufacturing plants in 5 countries and turning over multiple millions a year. And at the other end, you've got women working from their kitchen table, delivering a service-based industry. And let's say she's turning over £100,000 a year. Those two people both can benefit from coaching, but they would need to hear very different reasons why they might want coaching. So let's lose our multinational woman and come down and say, I work with women who own service-based businesses that they run from home. That's a niche. And can you see that if you say I work with women who run service-based businesses from home, people can immediately say, oh, I know somebody. They will either, that's me, or the person that you're talking to will, the bloke you're talking to will say, well, it's not me, but actually I know.
Yeah.
Now, within your niche, you will need to develop an ideal client. The purpose of an ideal client is to give your marketing a focus. And then your marketing message is, I know you. I understand the problem that you've got that coaching can resolve. No point trying to sell coaching to somebody with a tummy ache. That's not going to work. I understand the impact it's having on your life. I know what you've tried even to get rid of this problem, and I can explain to you why it hasn't worked. And I can even offer a couple of suggestions that you might not have thought about. But honestly, probably the best thing that we could do is to have a chat. Why don't you book a slot in my diary and let's have a talk about how this problem is impacting you? Now, the resistance across all of that from coaches, I can tell you, number one, but I want to be able to, but Sarah, I can coach anyone. So that I can coach anyone sits on the delivery side of your business. Yes. If you have the client in front of you, yes, you can coach them. If you don't have the client in front of you and you try to talk about coaching generically, they simply will not hear you. The other thing that coaches get worried about niching is, but I don't only ever want to coach one kind of client with one kind of problem. So here's the thing. If you have 10 people, 10 new coaching clients who all say, I'm struggling with this, we all know as coaches that by the time you get to session 3, they've forgotten the original thing and we're off into the rest of their lives. And all 10 people will have shot off in different directions because they're all individuals. So the problem that you market to, and again, coaches don't like talking about problems, they want to be positive, but with marketing, you need to identify a problem, and it needs to be a compelling problem that people are prepared to pay a professional rate to get rid of. But the reason that you do all of this marketing and this niching and developing an ideal client and a marketing message and then becoming visible to the kind of client you want to work with is the problem is a hook to get them into a conversation with you in the first place. Because if you say, hey, I know you've got this problem, I know, they'll go, crikey, she's talking about me. That's me. That's uncanny. And I can talk about this forever, as you've probably realized, and I'm aware that we have limited time. But one of the things that's really important to understand is that everything that we teach, everything we've done. I've grown the coaching revolution using this marketing technique. And it's not something that we've dreamt up. It's a marketing technique that the entire world uses, every industry. We've just honed it for coaches. And to kind of just quick aside, Virgin Airlines. Okay, Virgin Airlines have 3 ideal clients. And before you go, oh, I can have 3. If you have a multi-million-pound marketing budget, you can have 3. If you don't, you just have the 1. But Virgin Airlines' 3 ideal clients are the business traveler, the lone adventurer, and the family holiday maker. Now, if you don't belong to those 3 categories, you can still buy a ticket from them, but they're not going to market to you. And the reason that I'm telling you this is it doesn't mean that you can't coach anybody who doesn't fit your ideal client profile. You can coach anybody who wants you to coach them, but you can't market to anybody who.
Yeah, and the people who you market to have friends and relatives, and then the recommending comes in, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The referrals come after you've done a significant amount of coaching, because again, this is another thing that comes from coach training school. Oh, just get you 1 or 2 clients and then the rest will come by referral. And one of the really I think it's quite toxic, and it isn't done deliberately. I know it's not done deliberately, but some of our really esteemed professionals within the coaching industry, whose names I could tell you and you'd all recognize, they don't understand that the reason that they've had these stellar marketing careers without needing to market is because before they ever became coaches, they already had a stellar career and they already had authority and credibility. And they had a little black book of contacts with whom they already had the relationship. And so just the other day, I was involved in a conversation on LinkedIn with a very famous coach who said something about, it seems to me that coaches are far too interested in self-promotion and not interested enough in honing their personal development. And honestly, I could have screamed at my phone. And I thought, that's so unfair, because in my experience, coaches throw so much time, effort, energy, and money at getting more and more and more and more highly qualified, because comments like that, which basically says, if your coaching's good enough, your clients will find you. The flip side of that means if you've got to market, that means you're not a good coach. Yeah. And that's just not true. And something that I wrote on LinkedIn a while ago, and I lit the internet up in self-righteous indignation, was that this what I'm going to say now is a statement of fact. However angry it makes you, it's a statement of fact. It is not the best coach who will succeed. It is the best marketer.
Yeah.
And you can be both.
Yeah.
Marketing is just a skill and a process, just like coaching. And just like coaching, you can trust the marketing process. But when coaches tell me, and like I say, I speak to a lot, they finish their coach training, they pay a fortune to get their website developed, they get gorgeous headshots, they get their branding. I look at their website and it's all about them. I can coach anybody. This is my coaching philosophy. These are my packages. These are my prices. And they bear no resemblance to anyone. And then they sit back and think, well, now my leads are going to arrive.
But nobody looks at the website either.
Nobody is searching for a coach.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that to coaches, they get really kind of angsty with me and they say, well, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Go and look at the Google keyword tool. The number of people who are actively searching for a coach is vanishingly small compared to, for example, somebody who's looking for a therapist. Because people understand what therapy is. They don't know what coaching is and they don't recognize when they need it. And so building a website and then sitting back and waiting for it to happen, what you've done there is try to make marketing an event. And marketing isn't an event, it's a process. And when I speak to coaches who haven't yet developed their website, I tell them to stop, because your website shouldn't be about you. It should be about the kind of client you want to work with. It should be about what you can do for them, rather than all about you, your philosophy, how clever you are, etc., because nobody cares. In the beginning, nobody cares about you. What they care about is the fact that they've got this problem. It's really impacting their lives and they want it gone. And they don't know that coaching can help them get rid of it. And it doesn't, I'm not saying that coaching clients are bad people because they don't care. None of us care. What we all buy outcomes. We all want to know what's in it for us before I'm going to part with my hard-earned cash. And coaches, when people say, so what's in it for me? Coaches start talking about the coaching process. You can see now that I'm saying it like this, it's just a catastrophe. Coaches are desperately keen to talk about the coaching process. The people that they're talking to don't buy processes, and on it goes, on the roundabout goes. And so the answer to how do I develop a financially viable coaching business, pay as much attention to our marketing skills as we have to our coaching skills. And I know that people go, oh, but it makes me feel pushy. Do you remember when you learnt to drive and you got in a car? I have a very vivid memory of learning to drive back in the 80s. And in the days when cars had 4 gears. And I remember having to drive up this road that was about 500 meters long and looking at it and thinking, oh my word, I've got to get all the way up to 4th gear and back down to 1st gear before I get to the end of this road. And I don't know how to do that. Right. Now, I don't even think about what gear I'm in.
Yeah.
It's just automatic. And that's what it's like with marketing. Once you understand what you've got to do, doing it is actually a creative endeavor. It's interesting and it's exciting when you see it work. And do you need to be on social media? Yeah, you do in 2022. Do you need to be on every single social media platform? Absolutely not. You only need to be on the platforms where your client is, or the people that look like the kind of person you want to work with is. So if you say to me, well, I want to work with professional lawyers, but, oh, I hate LinkedIn. Well, then you either learn to love LinkedIn or you change your client.
Yeah.
You know, you have to put yourself, once you've got this amazing marketing message, you have to put yourself where the kind of people that you want to work with hang out, on and offline. It's not all about online, but it's certainly online is an element.
And when you don't have work, invest in business development, not in another qualification.
Yes. And oh, the number of coaches who've said to me after coming to some event or listening to something like this, and they've come and said to me, oh, I wish I'd found you 2 years ago, before I threw my hands in the air, said, forget it, the coaching industry is saturated, and I went back to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me sad. And my why, just to kind of explain where this all comes from, I think coaching is a superpower. I think we should all wear our knickers on the outside. And I think that it transforms lives because it transformed mine. You know, we all experienced it, didn't it? That's how we got here in the first place. And I think everybody deserves to be coached. Now, and can you imagine if there was a prescription drug that not only helped you figure out what you wanted in life, but also helped you to get it? Can you imagine the queues around every doctor's surgery? And that's what we've got our hands on here. And when I talk to coaches and they say things like, oh, you know, I want to coach the homeless, or I've done loads of pro bono coaching, or what, pro bono coaching is where our hearts lie. Being able to coach the disadvantaged, the people who can't afford it, that's where my heart lies. But in order to be able to offer the pro bono coaching, you have to have your financial basis covered. Yes. And so you have to have a target audience, an ideal client, a niche, who can afford to pay you. Because for those who can afford to pay you, the more of those you have, it means that you have the time and the space and the bandwidth to be able to offer pro bono coaching to those who can't afford it. You can't build a financially viable coaching business on pro bono coaching. coaches think, well, if I just coach enough people for free, my reputation. The thing about coaching people for free and hoping for referrals is that you will get them, but they will be referrals for other people who want free coaching.
Yes. Yeah. Sarah Short from the Coaching Revolution, thank you so much. I can see we're going to get lots of pingbacks on social media. And people are going to want to get in touch with you. So how do they do that?
Well, I have a website, thecoachingrevolution.com. On that website, there are a number of buttons that say book a call. Every single one of those buttons comes to my diary. It costs nothing to have a conversation with me, but it could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. The other place that you'll find me is if you go to Facebook and search for the Coaching Republic. That's our free group for any coaches. And in there we share tips, hints, etc., on how to build financially viable coaching businesses. Just one thing that I would like to drop in here is that we got our marketing method, our marketing process, ICF accredited. We offer the only marketing diploma for coaches. And the reason that we got it ICF accredited is if you think coaching can be a murky industry, you want to try working in the industry that I work in, because for every single one of those, I can help you 10x, find your high ticket clients, all of that stuff. I needed to elevate the coaching revolution above all of that, and getting the professional recognition, the professional accreditation was part of that process.
Wow, thank you. So credibility in buckets.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you so much for your generosity.
You're very welcome.
And for a super fun conversation. So
thank you.
I'm Claire Pedrick, and I've been in conversation with Sarah Short from the Coaching Revolution. Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd love you to share the podcast with a friend or leave a comment on social media. And if you'd like to become a regular at the Coaching Inn, you can subscribe on Podbean and all major podcast channels. We look forward to welcoming you next time. You've been listening to The Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub. For more information, check out 3dcoaching.com.